All right, everyone. Welcome into episode 13 of the Hooley Brothers podcast here on a very dreary Saturday afternoon. As always, Shine, joined by Mike. How you doing?
Good. Got a maker's dozen right now.
Exactly. Yeah, we've made it to the baker's dozen here, as you said. We're gonna start off with some hoops here, and some NBA, and the disaster of a basketball team that's happening in Boston. I know I kind of ranted on the last episode after their debacle against the Pelicans on last Sunday, and it's gotten worse. So we hung out a little bit after the end of our pod on Tuesday, Mike, and we watched the end of the Dallas game, and Luka just absolutely murdered them. So that was, tough as it was. They were kind of this points where it looked like they were definitely going to lose, parts where it looked like they should have won. And again, Luka kills him at the buzzer, and then an absolute putrid performance in Atlanta without Kemba Walker in the lineup, and Danilo Gallinari back from 2012 dropped what was it, 10 3-pointers in a 38-point performance, and then the Hawks win. So we'll get to last night's game in a minute, but we kind of just wanted to start out with what a disastrous, I'd say season, but more specifically the last week or two that it's been for the Celtics.
Yeah, like I said, we needed a 3-0 road trip, maybe 2-1 if something like Luka happened. Because yes, it was kind of it was right down in the end, but we shouldn't have let them go on a 15-2 run because I'm pretty sure they're up 83-82. The next thing you know, it was 101-89, and then we needed a ferocious comeback to make it a game. So if we just kept it somewhat in check, we could have ran away with that game. So okay, I guess a back and forth game, lost to a great player making a great play at the buzzer. That was one loss I said you can have, but instead they throw away a 24-point lead, and then they just don't show up Wednesday night against Atlanta. Yeah. So it was just a disastrous road trip.
I agree. You have that Luka game sandwiched between two wins. I don't think that's those are the breaks. That's tough. But if you get it in the middle of the streak, that's a game on a long list of games that you shouldn't lose. It has such different context if you're able to coast on Sunday and then show up and win in any fashion on Wednesday in Atlanta. If that's just kind of in the middle, I agree. It doesn't look that bad. It's an MVP caliber play making MVP caliber plays, hitting two great shots from far distance at the buzzer. I was almost joking to you, I think, when we were hanging out. I'd like to see Luka's, because his overall 3-point percentage isn't anything great. It's in the low 30s. I'd like to see his percentage in what they define as those clutch moments versus, I bet he's 25 in the first three and a half quarters of the game, and then he's well over 50% once it gets down to crunch time. I know we had that infamous, or not even infamous, iconic buzzer beater in the bubble last year, and then two big ones on Tuesday night. So.
Yeah, I feel like he's definitely the guy that at the end of the game, if he's feeling a shot, he'll definitely pull up from three, but when he's not feeling it, he'll go towards a facilitating role.
It's almost to the point now, and he's so young, so it's crazy to say, and there's a lot of good players in the league, but I'm almost at the point, I think I might have brought this up, maybe off air with you too. I said if I had one player in the NBA, I need to hit a game-winning shot. I'm a huge Dame guy in that aspect. But Luka's sneaking up. Luka might already be number two, because we've seen in his limited career, when the moment's there and he has a chance to do it. Even from that, again, he's more of kind of an interior player. He likes getting to the rim. If he needs to make a three from well beyond the 3-point arc, he's done it. So I don't know. He might be a high on that list as well.
Yeah, I'd say put him in the top 5, because you also got to consider guys like Durant and Kawhi. So
yeah, I know. It's just maybe because
recency bias.
It's become such a shooting game, and not that those guys aren't good shooters, but it's just I feel like more often than not, the game-winning shots coming at the 3-point line, more so than attacking the rim. And I know Kawhi had that insane multiple bounce shot when he was in Toronto to beat Philly, but yeah, obviously, those guys are killers as well. So
yeah, I only said Kawhi because of the buzzer beater.
Exactly. Yeah. That was fantastic.
Every person that picture is a meme. Ever seen that?
Pretty much, yeah. Anyone's face, yeah. To pick out any face between anyone on the court or anyone in the crowd, yeah. So yeah, Luka was Stone Cold Killer. But to get back to the Celtics, and it's been a rough week.
Got the Apple Watch update, because the Mavericks are the primetime game today against the Brooklyn Nets, and the Brooklyn Nets will be without Kyrie Irving tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the live update there. So
from a right shoulder injury, according to Shams Surround.
Okay, so that's the you said that's a Saturday showcase game?
Yeah, the 8:30 tip.
Okay. So. And then Durant out as well, so it's just gonna be Harden leaving the spot.
Yeah. Harden, Joe Harris crew.
Yeah. So again, we'll get definitely more to around the league and kind of what the Durant injury. There's been a few All-Star replacements. So we'll do some cleanup on that. But again, just focusing in on the Celtics. Like I said, it's been a rough week, if not a rough season for this team. But again, the last week especially, a lot of question marks are arising. Uh, and again, we heard a lot this week, especially if you're kind of a sports radio fan like we are, from leadership of the Celtics. Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens all have the weekly hits, but then Wick Grossbeck also appeared on Five Hour Mass this week as well, and they're showing up. I mean, you might not love all the answers, and I think that's something that the media members and I too give them credit for. You don't always hear from the Crafts or John Henry or Jacobs. You know what I mean? Like those are names that if it's going bad, you might not hear anything for a long time. The Celtics are stepping up to the plate. I think they've kind of established themselves as the team's going to face the music, so that's good. But obviously, a lot of question marks for a lot of people to answer right now.
Yeah, and I did not like the some of the clippings that some like ESPN took of the Wick Grossbeck interview.
The Kyrie one.
Yeah, because if you listen to the full statement, it was, yeah, of course, we were in our 3-year plan 3 years ago. We planned on having Kyrie here long term. So, of course,
Right.
changed. Like, that's kind of what he was saying. And then now everyone
I
was
mean, it seemed like he was using it as like an
sniffing, be like,
excuse.
they're blaming Kyrie leaving.
Yeah, I agree. If you listen to the whole thing, is we're like, yeah, well, that was our plan. Obviously, that didn't happen, so we had to pivot and make another plan, and now we're kind of figuring it out. I agree. That's what the long term plan was, to go with the Jays and Kyrie long term. And maybe even then, that's a situation where you would have brought back Hayward, or
Yeah.
you could have even kept Horford, because you would have had bird rights on everyone, so you wouldn't have had to. They couldn't really afford. You couldn't keep Horford and then also do Kemba. Something with the math there. Again, the NBA cap is the most complicated thing in the world, but again, it could have been a very different squad if that happened. And I think that's what Wick was trying to get across there.
Yeah. Well, and keeping along with the interviews, yes, it seemed like everything was okay, but Mike Gorman is not a fan of this team.
That's true. Thank you, Mike. I forgot about that. Mike Gorman, the play-by-play guy for the Celtics, he's kind of the one on the island by himself, calling out a lot of people, calling out the Jays, who again are both having fantastic years. They're both all-stars, and deservedly so. But as far as the team basketball goes and actually winning, the assist numbers are down. I had this the other day. I think they're 28th in the league in assists. So that's obviously a huge problem. And you're a handful of assists down from the top teams in the league. So you're talking like that's that'll add up. 5, 6, 7, 8 assists behind them. And because that's where I think there's a lot of stopping and watching and ISO ball. And again, that's great for statistics and it can keep you in a lot of games, but it only helps to a certain point. And I think that's what Gorman was saying, and I think what a lot of fans are seeing as well.
Yeah, because even I think I saw the stats where just kind of breaking down the amount of assists they have. Like if they're in a certain range, like past a certain number, they're 8-1 this year. If they're in the middle, they're 500, and if they're below that, they're 1-8 or something like that. So definitely, ball movement is the key to the Celtics' success. And sometimes the Jays and other players in the team just want to create ISO ball, and it seems to be a problem for them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the blame, and again, kind of sub to the plate as well, is just with this bench. There's no depth right now, and like I said, Kemba's obviously not 100%. We're seeing flashes from being good, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Marcus Smart's out, but also it's just there has to be more depth. Like again, we're relying on Aaron Nesmith and Peyton Pritchard, good, who've been both pretty good, especially Pritchard to start the year, but they're being counted on as 6th, 7th guys off the bench. And, they're kind of being thrust in that role right away, which is something you might see on a, middling or lower tier team, but on a team that hopefully would have championship aspirations. You're hoping to have more veteran established, players down there who who can get points on the board. I think we expected that a little bit more with Jeff Teague, and that hasn't really been the case despite a good game last night. But I think a lot of it does fall on Ainge. Again, we had all these picks and we didn't really do anything with them except make a selection. And in that league, it's obviously once you get outside the top 5, top 7, I mean, there's guys down there. Don't get me wrong. There's guys like Giannis and Kawhi Leonard and Draymond later on that turn out to be. What's that?
Klay Thompson.
Yeah. There's guys that fall out of that range that end up being good, but they're fewer and more far between. So I don't know, the fact that they weren't able to package any, maybe they held on to some guys that they shouldn't have. So I think a lot of it does go on them as far as why, again, the top of the roster is, talented, but once you get to the middle tier, when you need guys coming off the bench, when the Jays are going to be playing 48 minutes a night. So I think that's where a lot of the problems are lying as well.
Yeah. And even talking on the bench, like I feel like Brad's like always like just trying to figure out something because you look like
Mhm.
last night, like Semi Ojeley didn't play. A couple weeks ago, like last week, it was starting. I
Yeah, same with Grant. I see a
was gonna
lot with
say, it's
Grant
like
too.
sometimes you see Grant in there, sometimes he's not. Sometimes you see Neesmith play 28 minutes, and yesterday only played 7. So
You'll see. I've noticed that. Yeah, with Grant, some nights he'll be on the closing lineup, like
yeah,
in a tight game, and then he'll DNP the next game. I don't fully understand it. I think. I mean, obviously, you need to figure this stuff out, especially in a season that you get a short off season. You didn't really have much preseason and everything, but I think now you're getting to the point where you need to have that established. And like I said, it's strange for guys like Ojeley and Williams and even Neesmith that have such variance in the amount of minutes they're playing and when they're on the floor. So. Um, yeah, I think those are huge question marks, and that's the thing too. And I'm not completely. I think a lot of the blame does fall with Tatum and Brown. The best player, you get the most praise, but you have to take a lot of the responsibility there too. But one thing I will say to defend them is like, all right, well, who are they playing with a lot of the time? It's like, well, again, if people are kind of just camping out at the 3-point line, not moving around, I mean, at a certain point, maybe they're just like, well, iso ball is kind of the only thing to do right now. I think there's obviously a middle ground there, but at the same time, you have to look at who's around them. It's like, well, who are they kind of counting on around them for plays? So I think that's something that has to be taken into consideration too. But yeah, so again, just been it's rough, rough times here. Currently sitting at 16 and 17. I was gonna say out of the playoffs, but I know there's that weird playing thing. I'm not even completely sure what it is. Is it 10 teams?
I think
So
it's 10 teams, and
four
it's
at the bottom.
7 versus
Yeah.
10, 8 versus 9.
Yeah. We briefly, I don't know if we still are having, we've fallen behind the New York Knicks. So, again, having a good year in New York, but also probably not a good sign, especially, I mean, one thing if the Knicks went on an absolute tear. But yeah, they're, again, not sitting in the best spot as far as the standings go. But I do want to
Tied
briefly
with the
talk
Knicks
about
right
that.
now.
What was that, Mike? So,
Tied with the Knicks.
tied with the Knicks. Oh, that changes everything.
Yeah.
Currently sitting at the 7th spot after the last twin, and we'll get to the kind of the log jam going on in the bottom half of the playoff picture in the East. But just to kind of, again, I wanted to lead with the criticism because it has been a tough week. It really has. Even the last couple of weeks, however far you want to go back for this season, you could say the whole season as a whole. But we do have to also talk about the most recent thing that happened, and that was a win last night against the Indiana Pacers, a much needed win. And again, we were kind of with some friends last night, so I didn't really catch it, but I watched a lot. I watched like a 9 or 10 minute highlight video today. Also read some stuff online, and obviously a big night for Kemba. Seems to be his thing for Friday nights. Scored 60 points the last 2 Fridays. And I don't know. I mean, from everything I saw, and again, I don't know how much of the game you watched, Mike, but it just seemed like everything I saw, the ball movement seemed a lot better than what we've been seeing in the last few games.
Yeah, I had it on, but one of those like it's on, but you're not really watching type of things as
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah,
second
yeah.
with a girlfriend. But yeah, it did seem like the assist numbers were up, and that's the thing with this team. They need Kemba to
Yeah.
like that, or like you don't need to have 32 points every night, but if you can just get into the low 20s and play efficiently and keep the ball movement and kind of running the offense as the point guard, because we clearly saw that anytime he's DNP after a back to back, they got nothing. Like they're limited
Yeah. No, they don't.
even more. So that's
Especially
what
with Smart out. Yeah.
yeah, so that means you got to take advantage of having him on the floor on like either just a regular game, like or the first leg of a back to back.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Yeah.
saw
Okay.
when he's
So
definitely in there to play dividends.
I got some a nice split here for Kemba Walker. Uh, on Fridays, 5 games played. He's shooting 51% from the field, 38% from 3, and is averaging 24 points a game. So
Friday beer.
Friday night Kemba, it's a thing. I think the Celtics play a lot of Friday games. Uh, so if we can get that type of production every other day of the week, that's obviously ideal. And I completely agree because again, I think we know what we're going to get from the Jays for the most part. I mean, there's some nights where obviously Tatum struggled last night. You're very inefficient shooting, and I think that's the thing too because there's some nights, yeah, maybe Kemba doesn't have a great game, but then those 2 go off and you're fine. But it's almost if Kemba doesn't put up good numbers. If the Jays also don't, you have nothing, and that's when you see a game. I think like we've seen either down the stretch in New Orleans or he didn't even play against the Hawks. So if those 2 struggle, that's it. All you have to do if you're another team is shut them down, which is again a lot easier said than done. but there's no depth to the team. So again, like you said, Kemba really is the key. If he can, I think the big thing with him is just the efficiency. Because again, he's taking the shot, he's getting open shots, he's hitting some, but it's just again, I think it's really keeping that percentage up. And again, from what I've heard, it seems like everything he's saying anyway. I mean, not that he's going to really come, maybe say a lot of details on an injury, but he seems to be more of a confidence injury than an injury thing, and that's good news. I think if you're a Celtics fan, because then that could be fixed, obviously, right? I mean, like Kemba's been in the league for a long time. Everyone I think goes through, you go through these slumps. So I'd rather hear that than his knees acting up again, because then that's something that's going to keep coming up down the line. So I agree. This team's going to go as far as Kemba Walker goes, because other than that, like I said, you only have two players. So I think that's a huge key here for this team going forward.
Yes, and one little nugget from last night: Jeff Teague didn't look that bad.
No, and I had that in the
And
notes
even
as
against the
well. Yeah.
Hawks, even against the Hawks too, he did airball a finger roll, which is really hard. But I think after that, he seemed to get his stuff together.
Yeah, we've been seeing it. He kind of again got, I think, shunned to the end of the bench for a while, but we've been seeing more minutes from him, and that's a guy. I mean, I'm not going to overreact to 2 games. We've seen a much bigger sample size of him not playing too well. But that's a guy too. If you can get anything from him, like if you can get like 8 to 10 points a game off the bench from him, I think that's a huge win. You have him and Pritchard both kind of as backup point guards. Obviously, if you can get Neesmith rolling, these are a lot of big ifs out there. But I think Teague was a guy who I think coming into the year you thought was going to play a much bigger role than he has this year. And again, if you're going to have any sort of depth off the bench, I think you're kind of expecting it more, at least going into the season, out of a veteran like Jeff Teague versus some of these rookies and second year players.
Yeah, we signed him to replace Brad Wanamaker, and now
Exactly.
I just want Brad Wanamaker's productivity from last year.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, wait, did we? Yeah, last year every time he came in, it was just like, but now I'm like, yeah, do we miss Brad Wanamaker?
I was like,
I
no,
think
there's some flashes. He looked good. If he got to the line, he made the free throws. He led the league in free throw percentage. So
he did. People forget that. He did get released the other day, I think. So if he's
really?
out there. Oh. Yeah, I think the Warriors cut him, or they were expected to. I don't know if they actually did, but that bring it back now. But yeah, Teague, that's the thing too, because he's been pretty much a non-factor for a lot of these games. So I figure, yeah, maybe that's just Brad saying, why not? Let's see what we have here. We're losing every game. What's the, it can't get any worse. So yeah, again, if he can put up any sort of, consistency together with these games and kind of just add another guard to that rotation, that's obviously huge. Also, the one bright spot kind of consistently over the last few games has been the emergence of Robert Williams. And I'm wondering if it's time to start him, put him in the lineup, or at least get him more minutes, because he's been kind of a force in the minutes that he's been out there.
Yeah, when we drafted him at 27, it seems to be like the great pick at the slot at the end of the draft, because we've seen guys like Gobert. I think maybe Siakam went there too.
I think that sounds right. Yeah.
If you look at the last 10 years, there's been a lot of good players drafted at 27. So we draft them with a type of kind of high, low risk, high reward type of thing. Mm-hmm. Well, high risk, high reward because of his head a little bit. He's finally he's getting it together, because I know everyone said it's his effort, but I feel like every game I watch this year, his effort's been there, and the only thing really slowing him down is kind of him playing too much, jumping on a fake and getting into foul trouble. But he seems to really kind of been containing that the last couple games, and he seemed to have a really good game last night, because seems like when he's on the floor, it's just the lobs to him is just another element in this offense that makes it easier when you need a bucket. Just run a pick and roll with him, and he seems to be just getting, whether it's off the glass, dunking it. He just seems to be a menace on the offensive end. So
even seems to have a good touch, because I think there was I'm not sure which game it was in, where someone threw a lob to him and it was almost too far, and he almost was able to still tap it in.
Yeah, I think that was the game last Friday.
Yeah, so I think I thought that play was going to go poorly. I'm like, oh, they lobbed it too high and too far away, and he even still made that work. So he's shown a much better touch around the rim. But yeah, we're seeing 22 minutes out of him. I'd like to see that get closer to 30, because again, he does 14 and 11 in 22 minutes is definitely quite efficient. I know foul trouble might have a lot to do with that, but again, it seems like he's gotten better on that front. But yeah, I think he's another piece that if you can get him going, and you have some depth there. I'm not saying that they're the 3 best big men in the world, but you have a solid rotation, because again, Tristan seems like he's at least improved on the glass. Tice's 3-point shot's actually been a little bit better, but I think overall you're seeing Robert Williams kind of been the most consistent of the three. So I'd throw him in the lineup personally.
Mhm.
Again, it's tough too because he's another guy that can get banged up. So you almost don't want to rely on him too much when or you have to at least be able to adjust when he's not able to suit up. But again, he's been kind of the bright spot over what's been happening over the past week or so. But yeah, I think overall, just I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see with this team. I don't really trust them to win multiple games in a row, but it's gonna take something like that to get back into things.
It's a heart attack every time you flip on the the TV station.
It really is because even like I said last night, there's points where even when they win games where it gets a huge question mark gets thrown on it for periods of time. You don't know what's going on. It looks like they're going to get got below the lead there, so it's
Yeah.
never easy.
Yeah, it's like like I said, even a win, they started the game down 18-4, and then they almost blew it like at the end. It was just it's never an easy experience watching the Greek and gold.
No, and like you said, we have like we said before, we have a few weeks till the deadline. We'll have to see if anything happens there. I guess not expecting anything huge with TPA. It sounds like it's going to be something that happens in the off season. Makes more sense. Not even going to try to understand any of the numbers there, but again, maybe some minor moves. I know we've mentioned something like Josh Hart before, but in season there's been talk of Harrison Barnes. I don't know if that would happen. I wouldn't hate it. I'd take anything at this point. It's kind of like the Patriots quarterback situation where any sort of reinforcements I'll take, but yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the coming weeks, especially how they do. If they start to fall out of it, is it worth investing? And then whereas if they make a push, is it maybe a time to do that? But yeah, we'll see. Again, overall a frustrating week, but they kind of again most recently they kind of win last night, and we'll see what happens going forward there with the Celtics next game tomorrow, a Sunday game versus the Wizards, which again we ended in disaster. Well, I go Wizards are on a bit of a hot streak. Wizards have been good. I know we mentioned that a little bit last time. I was kind of shift gears and go into more big picture. Beal and Westbrook have been making it work. So the Wizards again, they looked like they were going to be buried for a while, and they're kind of making a bit of a push. I mean, they're still in 12th place, but I mean, they could easily get to that play. I mean, again, the expanding to 12, that's a team that could definitely make a push to get in anyway.
Yeah, they've won 6 of 7, beat the Lakers. So especially the Sunday Celtics, it's not going to be an easy game tomorrow.
I got a kind of a bad feeling about that. But anyway, yeah, just kind of going around the league. Like you said, on our two, the Jazz did lose in Miami last night, but they've still been a force. They've stayed hot. Again, Mitchell and Gobert both had great years making the All-Star team there. Mike Conley kind of on the outside looking in, still unable to get his first bid there, but Jazz seem to be the class of the league right now.
Yeah, they did, like I said, they not blow it. They did lose it last night in Miami, but that was coming off of a kind of a big blowout victory at home against the Lakers. I know I'm still shorthanded without AD.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely seem to be the cream of the crop.
Yeah, and we'll stick out west for now, because as we mentioned, I think even last time, like the Clippers have moved into that 2 spot, and Lakers are struggling, like you said, without AD. Obviously you have to take that into consideration there, but it is interesting too because we've seen Bron do more with less, so it's a little surprising they've taken a little bit of a skid here as we've gotten into the last week or so without AD. So yeah, that kind of seems to be how things are shaking up there. Phoenix climbing on their heels there, only a game behind them from that 3 spot. So again, the West is shaking out a little bit different than we thought it would. I think we all assumed Lakers would be sitting pretty atop the conference, but like you said, the Jazz have really been on a tear this year. Kind of going through San Antonio, also having a good year too. There seems to be a big separation between the top 4 and the bottom half of the playoff picture, with Utah, the LAs, and Phoenix kind of having a 3-game buffer between San Antonio, Portland, and Golden State all tied there. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is interesting. I know we had the Warriors kind of dominating things for a while, and it still might just come down to Brooklyn and one of the LA teams, but we have some good teams in the mix. There's a lot of different things that could happen right now. But now we'll go to. I want to take a look at the East, though. The West, again, I think a lot could happen there. We could see Dallas maybe try to sneak back in as well. I know they're kind of in the playoff game now, but as we shift gears and go to the East, kind of a similar thing going on, except the line's really being drawn at the 3 seed there. I think the teams at the top there are really starting to get into form. Uh, Again, we've seen Brooklyn with their new big three. They're kind of just a half game behind Philly right now, who's kind of been the leader in the clubhouse all season. The Nets have won 8 in a row, which is kind of crazy. I mean, again, they have that huge big three on their roster, but the Bucks have also won 4 in a row, so that's kind of taking form. There seem to be a lot of separation between them three and the rest of the league, or the
Yeah,
rest of the conference,
the
rather.
top three in the East is definitely solidifying up. I know there's a 3.5 game gap between the 3 and the 4 seed right now, and
They're the only teams over 500.
yeah, it's definitely you're seeing who the best teams out in the East are. So this is my take I have in the Celtics.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you can't get to the 4 seed, give me the playing game.
Okay, why?
Well, this winning streak from Brooklyn's kind of hurting it, but I guess the 7 seed doesn't matter. Well, I guess I'm more of if Philly can be the 1 seed because either you're the 4 seed and you have home court and everything's kind of like going according to plan. But if not, give me the playing game because if you stink and you're not going to win it, you can just lose right away and end up in the lottery.
Okay.
And if you win, that means you can hopefully play Philly as the 1 seed. And you kind of have some good luck there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you win, you're bracketed to play a 4-5 in the next round instead of having to go through like Brooklyn or Milwaukee in the second round. If you can somehow pull off the upset against Philly, you're getting like a Toronto or a Miami. So it's like
I don't hate.
I'm trying to create like a nicer road for them. I mean, and give them an easy out if they lose right away, and you have a better draft pick.
I'm gonna again. I don't hate
just don't
it.
end up being a 6 seed and have to play Milwaukee in the first round.
Well, no, that's the only thing I'm gonna say here. The only thing I'd change about yours is drawing the line at 5. Because I mean, I know it's home court, not home court, but if you're playing again, like you said, the class kind of seems to be between the top 3. That's really what it is kind of a drop off there. So it's like if you end up playing the Raptors again, the only difference between being 4 and 5 is game 7 in Toronto, which I'm not trying to scoff at, or I guess it's in Tampa. So that's another thing. You're not really in Toronto. Who knows how many fans will be there? So that's the only tweak I think I'd make to your take.
Yeah, again, I think I'm going to be a big Philadelphia Sixers fan in the regular season. I want them to be
just hope that they get that 1 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess the only thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, I agree. Actually, yeah, because I don't see us getting into the top 3. I think the best case scenario for this team is the 4 seed. In which case, I'd rather, if you can win that series, I'd rather play Philly in the next round than definitely Brooklyn and probably Milwaukee too.
Yeah, I mean, this team stinks again. That's what I'm saying. Give them the out in the play-in game.
Yeah, we're gonna lose every team. Yeah.
So like, I'm kind of just not trying to have to go through like Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and
it's especially Brooklyn. But,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Not that Milwaukee's any easy team, but yeah, Philly. I mean, because we know Embiid's gonna kill the Celtics. Like that's just a given. He's gonna put up at least 35. But if you can shut down everyone else, the Celtics have proven, and I think they've lost the last few games there, so you can't even go much off of that there. But yeah, I agree. I don't hate that. The way it's kind of shaping up now. Again, you're in the 7th spot and you play if you won say there was no plan right now, you'd be slotted to play the Nets in the first round. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
I did forget about that plan, but it is kind of funny though how you always nothing can truly be that surprising in the NBA, because if you looked at the standings a couple of weeks back, Toronto and Miami were both out of the picture. They're both 4 or 5 right now. It's just like you saw some weird teams in there. You saw Atlanta, you saw Charlotte. Now the only the only change from last year is the Knicks swapped in for the Magic as far as
top 8
order is different, but the top 8, the only difference is that the Knicks have kind of taken the Magic spot, which isn't that crazy there. So yeah, really no difference from last year. I thought, I'm like, oh, we'll see Miami or Toronto miss the playoffs. No, they're both back right in the middle.
Yeah, because I kind of hope we get out to the 4-5 because like a nice foursome of the Knicks, Pacers, Bulls, and Hornets. I don't know. I think that would be a good little plan.
Knicks, Pacers, Bulls, Hornets. Okay. Yeah. So again, hopefully we get up to 4-5, and then Toronto and Miami are 5 and 6.
Yeah, I guess
that would be ideal. That'd be the ideal. I'd probably rather face Toronto, given how last year's playoffs went. We beat Toronto. We lost to Yeah. Oh God, that hero face. The Toronto/Tampa Bay Raptors. But yeah, so kind of that logjam, like you said, at 4 through 10. It does. It's weird because again, I'm just my brain so programmed to thinking of 1 through 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then I don't know. It makes things more intriguing. I mean, probably more out west. There's better teams, but not really. Now that you look at the standings, once you get down there, I think the top might be better out west. But once you get in the middle, there's just bad. It's going to be bad teams getting in there,
Yeah.
especially in the again. You could have again if the Knicks can hold this pace going. I don't think they're a terrible team. And then same with the Pacers, but then the other two that get in, like you said, right now it's thought to be the Bulls and the Hornets. It's just like
I don't know.
I guess they're respectable. I guess, yeah. That's kind of where the line it's being drawn at a good place right now. And like
Yeah.
I said, the Wizards can make a push too.
The Hornets, they're a pesky team. I mean, they beat the Warriors at the buzzer, Terry Rozier last Saturday night.
Yeah, yeah.
They
Scary Terry.
they were in
That
it
guy.
against the Jazz. They kind of fell apart. They're like I think up going into the fourth quarter, and then kind of blew that fourth quarter. I think they lost 41-20, and then they beat the Suns in Phoenix on Thursday night, Thursday or Wednesday night.
Yeah, yeah.
They can definitely
Pesky.
they definitely can show. Yeah, they're frisky.
Yeah. They're Hornets. I'd say they're more pesky.
True.
They're the Bobcats like they used to be. Then I think they'd be frisky. But anyway, so yeah, just a few other items as we're here. First, we wanted to kind of clean up the All-Star game. So there's been a few replacements. AD, obviously, we knew this was coming, and he obviously is going to be playing the game. They did replace him with Devin Booker, so he did get stumped at first, but he did get his way into the lineup. I think that was kind of an obvious pick there out west.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was clamoring for it, and I think it's the All-Star game. Like, who really cares about positions? Like,
No, especially yeah. I think
no one's gonna be posted up really in the game. So
yeah. And then it's announced that Kevin Durant's going to be out through the All-Star break out in the East, and a lot of people were I don't think complaining, but it's like, oh, over both Heat players, whatever. But they ended up being Domantas Sabonis. He's someone I thought should have made the All-Star team to begin with. So if you are a fan of the Miami Heat or Chris Middleton or whoever it might be, I think you're grace more with Vucevic. Again, I think he's having a good year, but I think Sabonis was 100% an All-Star, and I think he should have been in the first time around.
yeah, I think the two biggest snubs in East Conference ended up getting in, which is a good thing. I mean, if you're gonna go, if someone else backs out, I do think I would go with Bam because he's just an incredible player. But
if anyone else backs out, because I think they might kind of fall to position thing. I think, say, Kyrie is injured, he doesn't play. I think it's going to be Trae Young.
Trae Young. Yeah, good effort about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They usually brought the Miami players in. I love
no, I know. I
was only going. I was give a little shout out.
Yeah, no, I was going strictly front court on that aspect of it. But and then something that I kind of wanted to bring up because there is a Celtics point of view here, and this might also play into the position aspect of it. But since Durant's out, he was a starter, so now someone from the bench has to go in the starting lineup, and it was selected to be Jason Tatum. I'd argue they picked the wrong Celtic. That should have been in the starting lineup there.
Yeah, I think that was more of.
Is it the front court thing?
Either that or more of just marketing, like.
I guess, but I don't know. It's just yeah. I don't know. I almost feel like I hope Jalen's not. I mean, he seems like a very like even keeled guy, but like I'd be a little annoyed, and not even like personally at Tatum, but it's just like people just assume that Tatum's the better player, but Brown's had a better year.
Yeah,
and it's also weird because again, if you're gonna tell me it's the front court back court thing, fine to a certain degree, but also Jalen's kind of a fringe player anyway. Like it depends on what our lineup is. If no, a lot of times he is playing the three because you have Smart in the lineup in the backcourt with Kemba. So he is kind of like a 2/3. So I know he got on the ballot, he was listed as a backcourt player. So maybe that's what they went off of. If so, I can handle that a little bit better. I mean, this is stupid at the end of the day because it's the All-Star game, but I weirdly like kind of care about these things. So I just think Jalen should have got the recognition of him put in the lineup over Tatum.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess either way, we have a starter in the All-Star game. So can't complain too much, but that's just a thought on that.
13 under 500, can't complain.
Yeah, also true. And then just a couple more things, kind of more fun items here. So first, I guess we're in chronological order here. That Nuggets-Wizards game on Thursday night. A lot of people are blaming the nerds. The 3-point shot's more valuable than a 2-point shot, but I think it was just kind of more of a boneheaded mistake by the Nuggets and what happened here. So for those of you who didn't see it, the Nuggets were down 2 late in the game, just a few seconds left. Nuggets get, I think was it a missed shot or a made shot? I'm not sure.
I think it was it was the Wizards had the ball with like a 10-second separation of the shot
Mhm.
clock, so like the Nuggets just played straight D, and I think it was like a shot and then like an offensive putback that got like hit off the glass really far, so it shot right out, and then it
A
made
missed shot, right? Yeah.
yeah, and like the rebound shot out far right to Jamal Murray, and they ended up having a 4-on-1 fast break.
So Murray gets that long rebound, leads the 4-on-1 fast break. 4-on-1 fast break. Let's say that again. All three guys stop at the 3-point line. And there's only one guy between Murray and one of them. I think, and then Campazzo ends up taking the shot. Michael Porter Jr. just sitting in the corner. Him or I don't even know who the other person on the play was. But there's a wide open path to the net. Layup, dunk, whatever you want. Tie game, this thing's going to overtime. Instead, it's a missed three from Campazzo when the Nuggets lose the game.
Yeah, because I'm not really mad at the fourth guy because like as the fourth guy, like I think he should have been on the 3-point line. But
Mhm.
like Michael Porter Jr. is kind of like the guy ahead, and instead of
Yeah.
like running to the hoop where Murray could have like not even done like a lob, but did like a flow pass over his guy, he would have had a wide
Mhm.
open layup. But instead, he kind of just like beeline to the corner out of nowhere. And I think Murray was just so confused, he picked up his dribble at the 3-point line. He had no idea what to do.
Yeah. Because again, Murray was kind of thinking about
I
pulling.
think he like
I don't know. I can't blame him too much
I
because,
think
like
he
I
was
said, I
like,
think he
I'm
was
either
looking
gonna
for
pull up and win, and then he saw some people wide open, so he's like, oh, I'm gonna go for a pass, and then he kind of like saw that
he
Porter
had like
corner,
adjust his
just
pass
panicked and
almost.
gave it to
Yeah.
Campazzo.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, how many old school basketball guys are rolling over in their grave right now, just seeing that get played out that way? But yeah, I mean, Murray had the guy on him, so he almost had to account for that. So they could say, okay, I'm either going to pull up or someone's going to be wide open because I'm going to draw this defender to me. So there's going to be three guys wide open, but they all just stopped. And like I said, it was a wide open three, but again, you could have had a wide open pat to the basket and send this thing into overtime.
At the game, yeah, bonehead.
Maybe they were just tired. They're like, well, this game's ended one way.
Yeah, I think the whole nerd thing is that it was a stupid play with the players in the court, but it might be the nerds in their head that told them to go to the 3-point line.
I see. That's the thing. I'm gonna separate the over analysis a little bit here. I just think that's just the way the games become is like so 3-point centric. I'm not even saying it's for analytics. Like there might be players that don't care at all about analytics or don't pay attention to it at all. It's just like they know it's like, oh, this is a 3-point league now. Like everyone's just so proficient at it much more than they used to be back in the day. But at the end of the day, I think it's just like I said, it's something in their mind that I don't know if they didn't know the score or what the situation. It just it's definitely a sign of the times and how the game's changed. But yeah, obviously something that can't happen. And I'm sure that if that situation comes up again for the Nuggets, it might go a little bit differently. And then another thing, I briefly saw this last night. There's a bit of a jersey mix up last night in the Oklahoma City Atlanta game. Oklahoma City wore orange, Atlanta wore red. So you can imagine what that looked like to the viewer's eye there. It was very unpleasant. And then the Thunder ended up switching at halftime to white jerseys, which my only question here is if you had them the whole time, why like, couldn't you have done that before the game started?
Oh my god!
You're seeing it now? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about the story. Yeah,
Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, I just it's one of those things that popped up. I think saw it on Twitter. I think it was one of our new followers, Kyle, free agent NBA fan on Twitter, tweeted out like what am I watching or something like that, and it was not pleasing. Again, just imagine orange and red on the court at the same time, and it really just it did not work. So I'm trying to bring it up again myself. I know I saw it earlier here. Hawks Thunder just it's weird because they changed at halftime, which is very very strange. But yeah, there's some clips early on and especially with the white in the jerseys too, and then you have like
yeah,
the
and like
yellow and
the
the
yellow
Hawks.
outline on the Hawks. I
Yeah, very. I'm not sure. Very not
think
pleasing visual experience there.
bad rating. I think this picture is the best.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
The
Lou
torture
Dort
chamber.
dribbling on the Dorset Chamber, dribbling in on John Collins there. So yeah, just kind of another funny note that happened last night in the NBA that we wanted to bring up. And again, if you had the jersey the whole time, I don't know how you didn't fix this. Like, let's maybe delay the game for 5 minutes and then not have this absolute cluster F going on. But anyway, yeah, so I think that just about does it for the NBA. We have 1 week till the All-Star break, and we'll kind of see how this 4 to 10 section of the Eastern Conference works its way out, and see if the Celtics can get some sort of momentum going. But We'll stick on hoops. We'll go to the college game for a while. Again, I said it last show. Starting to get excited. We're getting into just a couple of weeks away here, probably 2 weeks away from conference tournaments, the big conference tournaments that are happening, and then 3 weeks away will be 3 weeks from yesterday. We'll be in the middle of games, kind of surrounding us from all 4 games going wall to wall, and I'm so pumped for it. I'm gonna
Cannot
say this every show until then, probably.
cannot wait for it.
No.
The music.
So, uh, kind of just wanted to talk a lot about kind of what happened this week. So we did have I guess I'll kind of defer to you this. We'll go somewhat in chronological order from our last show. Big game in the SEC Wednesday night, Mike.
Yes, that was the Arkansas Alabama game, and gotta love those Razorbacks. Coach Muss pulled off a big upset. It was kind of
The Muss
the Muss bus. It was a
Was
pretty
it
good first
20 and
half.
6?
Huh?
What were the rankings? Was it like
6
20
and
and
20.
6 or something?
6,
Yeah.
20
Okay.
upsets.
Right on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 1-point game in the halftime to Arkansas in the lead, but despite a 3-12 shooting, Moses Moody scored 24 points and really just got to the line a lot. He was 16 of 19 from the free throw line and just led the second half take
I see
over.
that a lot in college.
Yeah, 42 to 28 second half, and Arkansas was able to pull off a big win. And after you just got to see Coach Muss firing up the crowd, it was good to see.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
They're playing at
So
LSU right now in Arkansas, and Arkansas is actually down 5 points at the half.
they used to always be a fun. What was I gonna say? There used to be a fun like SEC game the day after Thanksgiving. OSU Arkansas. That was always a good one. And then so then Thursday night hit a little bit of a disappointment as the early game that was supposed to be at 5 o'clock was canceled. The Baylor West Virginia games. That was obviously a bummer to not have happened. Then 7 o'clock was there was a game of the Big Ten between Iowa and Michigan just keeps rolling along. Iowa put up a good fight, but they never quite got there. Luka Garza, obviously an absolute beast. I said he looks like a 1950s bully. Also kind of looks like Kevin from Riverdale, if anyone's seen that show, with that jawline. But anyway, yeah, Michigan just continues to be the class of a stacked Big Ten.
Yes, programming note, they are making up that Baylor West Virginia game this upcoming Tuesday, the 2nd.
Okay.
Again, another 5 p.m. tip. I don't know why they're
Okay.
obsessed with doing 5 p.m. tips there.
So we'll go on after that matchup.
And then back to that game on Thursday. Luka Garza really kind of got shut down in that one. I believe he ended up with sorry, the ESPN app is bugging right now. He had 16 points, but it was on 6 of 19 shooting. You'd have to see a lot of good defense from the freshman standout Dickinson, and even off the bench, I believe is
Dickinson did look good.
Austin Davis, because Dickinson got in a foul trouble. He was able to put up 6 and 3 in his 8 minutes of action and really shut down Garza down low. And Iowa did have some injuries in the game, but I think it was one looked more serious than the other. But Michigan just so stacked, so deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll kind of get. I want to save this other piece of the Big Ten just for a second here to go quickly pivot to the Big 12. And we are seeing a lot of teams kind of beating up on each other down there. Besides Baylor, really, because we've kind of seen. So Kansas fell to Texas earlier in the week on Tuesday. Then so Texas won that one, but then they lost today to Texas Tech. And then now Kansas plays Baylor tonight. So kind of a lot of, okay, they beat them, then they beat them. It's just, so, again, I think the middle tier, again, or I guess, higher up in the conference, but everyone but Baylor kind of continues to beat up on each other.
Yeah, Texas is really struggling against a lot of good teams. I mean, now they've lost to Texas Tech twice. They're able to sweep Kansas, but they were basically a no-show when they played Baylor. And another West Virginia, they blew the 19-point lead, so they really needed that sweep of Kansas, especially down the stretch. They were down early, and Kansas had a wide open layup to tie the game and just dribbled it off his foot out of bounds. So that was a very, very lucky end of that game for Texas. So it's good to see them get bouncing back after a pretty tough stretch with COVID and the end of Big 12 play.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's certainly something to keep an eye on as we get down to the stretch here, because again, we mentioned those results, And like we said, the Red Raiders were able to take on the Longhorns today. Game just kind of wrapped up here. And then tonight, again, a big game like you were kind of saying before. Baylor and Kansas, obviously a huge one. 2 for 17 as it stands right now. Should be good one of the Big 12 tonight. And then also Bedlam today. So
Mm-hmm.
typically another football matchup between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So except on the hardwoods today. So another big matchup, the Big 12.
And
And
then
then sorry, go ahead, Mike.
and then tomorrow, I like these Big Ten Sundays. We have Iowa at Ohio State, so that'll be a good one tomorrow.
That will be good. Yeah, that's really one to keep an eye on. Again, a lot of it's a lot of the bigs, the Big 12, Big 10. So yeah, that'll be a good matchup to go with as well. Currently today in the Big 10, we currently have Illinois, Wisconsin going on. That game is at the half 37-26. So Illinois kind of seems like they're in good shape right now, at least as they're in Wisconsin. So they'll probably stay at that number 5 spot.
Well, they did.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't mean misspoke. I'm going to lead into the other news, which is I was catching myself as I was saying. I was like, wait a minute, no, not so fast as Lee Corso says. Mike, this is making our case. The Blue Bloods might be back.
January.
Michigan State, February, Izzo, April. Yeah. So Michigan State's kind of been on the rise, and a huge win against Ohio State last night. So
they
Illinois might be moving up in the standings. Actually,
they were
rankings,
down. Right? They needed to do one last gasp to get in the tournament with 2 big home games against the 5th and 4th team in the country on Tuesday and Thursday, and they showed up with 2 big wins. And now I think they bumped themselves up.
Oh right, yeah. Oh my God, I forgot. I like combined them together. Yeah, they beat both of them. Yeah, I was like recency bias. Yeah.
I think now like there might be like the last 4 in or something. Last I checked with Joey brackets.
Yeah.
I pull that up as we speak.
Yeah, but again, we've said it. I know North Carolina had a bit of a hiccup because they had their game canceled and then they scheduled Marquette and ended up losing to Marquette.
Yeah, so and they have a pretty tough stretch coming up that leads into the game. So there could be a chance that they end up all like on that playing games. So it's a pretty wild scenario going on right now.
It really is because again, that's not that there's always bad teams, but there's never anything huge in these first 4 games, especially. I mean, obviously there's 2 that are like 16 seeds, so those obviously aren't big names, but those like 11s or 12s that we see the playing games in sometimes it's like, yeah, it's solid programs, but never anything like this caliber. And we could see 1 or 2 or I doubt 3, but like we could see some big names having to get into these playing games to get to the tournament.
Well, okay, so I'm looking at, I think it was updated yesterday morning, the bracketology right now. So North Carolina is slated as a 10 seed right now. And then if you look at the last 4 buys, some like the last 4 buys, last 4 in, next 4 out, first 4 out, next 4 out. There are some great programs in here. You see like Louisville, VCU, Seton Hall, Indiana, UConn, Xavier, Michigan State, and Duke.
That's one thing.
The last like 8 of them are in, 8 of them are out, like right on that bubble. So it's kind of crazy. And even if you include UNC, who may backslide a little bit with some tough games coming up, it could be pretty wild to see.
No, again, that first 4, it's always something it's kind of a formality, but this is going to be, like you said, one way or another, this is probably going to shape up to be a very interesting first 4.
Well, yeah, even right,
especially in the 2 non-16 matchups.
Yeah, even right now, like Indiana, UConn in the first 4.
Those are. I mean, again, I know we got the
national championship in the last for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana historically great, and then UConn great this century. Mm-hmm. So them, again, we have Duke and North Carolina on the bubble. We have again Michigan State sneaking in now. We get on some great matchups historically speaking. Maybe this version of the team aren't great, but some big names playing in the first 4, which is just unlike anything we've really ever seen before.
Yeah, and with Indiana losing to Michigan today, that might push them out. Maybe put Michigan State back in.
Right,
Michigan
exactly.
State plays Michigan twice next week, I believe.
Michigan State, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. I just like want all these teams to get in somehow, just like even if it is the first 4, because like again, even Indiana, like you said, they're historic, or we were saying before, like they're a historically good program. Hopefully, they didn't do too much damage. I mean, if you lose to Michigan, it's kind of expected, right? Like this.
Yeah, we end the year. Michigan next week ends the year with hosting Illinois on Tuesday night, hosting Michigan State on Thursday, and then on Sunday going to Michigan State. So I
Michigan
did
State's got split, right?
gotta,
Yeah.
especially on
You
that
need
Sunday,
one.
the Sunday, the last day of the regular season before conference
I
tournaments.
could see that. I could see Michigan almost smacking them in the first game, and then like, is those boys come up big on a Sunday to sneak
Well,
in?
because you know what Monday is? That's March. Or should I say, like we said, Izzo. So it's time his time to shine. He's starting a couple
This is
weeks early.
March. This is March.
But
That's crazy. I keep forgetting that because February is so short. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like literally Monday.
so
Um,
I did listen to the our darling Jake's benchball podcast yesterday. I had some
yeah.
work, and you kind of made a good point with all these COVID cancellations. We're kind of getting rewarded this last week of the season.
Oh yes, yeah,
With
yeah.
all these like games that got pushed back or kind of just squeezing them in. A lot of teams are playing like 4 games in 8 days. So
Or how about this other aspect that was brought up, the replacement team
yeah,
portion. So obviously there's a chance that teams get COVID that kind of spreads through their system, and they're gonna have to drop out of the tournament, and they're gonna have like kind of like the first four out. Like it's gonna be, I think that was kind of just more of a, it didn't really count for anything the first four out in years past, but this year it's going to, because we're gonna see teams that have to potentially replace teams in the tournament. And we were saying before, say like Duke gets left out, they could enter the tournament as a 1 seed, or they can enter it as a 16 seed, or anything in between, depending on the team that maybe potentially has to drop out. And
yeah,
that's just crazy to think about.
yeah. Because this is the most talented two punch. Just imagine like you're like a 4 seed, and then all of a sudden the 13 like Utah State gets COVID, and then all of a sudden you
Mm-hmm.
got like Coach K.
Yeah, yeah, and I apologize. I don't know if I might have cut out there, but yeah, basically what I was saying is that, yeah, like if you're one of these replacement teams, you could slide in for any team at any seed at any point. So, and is that just first round? That's something too. Like,
Yeah, I'll probably do more research in this, but it's
imagine if you're just like sitting around, you end up in the Sweet 16 because
yeah, maybe
team
maybe
one,
it's just
two.
the first weekend, but I don't know.
I would have to imagine it would. Yeah, because I just came to that realization now. I'm like, that probably only goes so far. At a certain point, you have to either reschedule or even forfeit, because I can't imagine a team just sliding into like the Sweet 16 of the Elite Eight.
Duke gets the Final Four appearance just by just by
Just
default.
sliding in, yeah. I'm also, they brought up on the screen, the current 1 seeds: Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Ohio State. 2 seeds: Illinois, Bama, Villanova, West Virginia, from Joey brackets as of right now. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. If I mean, for the sake of all these programs, I hope that doesn't happen to anyone. I hope everyone gets kind of their fair shot at this thing. But something to keep an eye on if there are cancellations
It's a
early
nice
on.
and healthy March Madness.
Yes, please, all in the state of Indiana. Hopefully that helps things out. But yeah, obviously going forward, we're getting ready, or our bodies are getting ready for for a lot of basketball, especially.
Sunshine and hoops.
Yeah, again, not crazy about the schedule this year, but we'll make it work.
I think as long as it's only this year, like the one,
Yes, we've
I'm
said it
okay
before.
like
Yeah,
experiencing in the 1 year, like last year with the
yeah, go
baseball
back
playoffs.
go back to Thursday to Sunday, please.
Yeah.
But well, again, we have a Friday to Monday to start it, and then a week Saturday to Tuesday to do the second weekend. But again, we'll take it. We didn't have any tournament last year, so yeah. Now we'll just kind of wrap up on a few things here. We'll move along from basketball. I want to quickly touch on some football. A couple, again. We're stuck in some weird QB, like, I don't want to say purgatory, but kind of a holding pattern for, I think, a lot of dominoes that are going to fall throughout the league. Deshaun Watson's kind of stuck in this weird George Costanza play now situation where there's just a huge standoff going on. No one wants to make the move. See in hell Costanza basically, and Deshaun's pretty much saying he's not going to show up. So kind of, I guess, a reverse of that situation where he's not going to show up to work, and then Houston just pretty much saying they're not going to trade him. So I'm very intrigued to see how all that shapes.
Yeah, they set up a nice meet and greet with him and Cully, and it was like, "Hello, nice to meet you. Bye."
This doesn't change anything. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he's like, I respect you as a man. Best of luck, but I will not be here.
You will not be having me, so plan otherwise.
Yeah. And it's a tough situation because, again, you can kind of look at it both ways. It's just like, okay, well, he did sign a contract, which, again, he probably shouldn't have done. But also at the same time, it's like, all right, it's also within his right to not show up if he's willing to forego that money. And it's just like, who's going to call whose bluff first? Because it's like, all right, sure, maybe you don't have to pay him, but it's like, now, I don't know, if say he just keeps not showing up, are you willing to like not move forward with your franchise to like have this happen, also
Oh,
ruin your chance of getting probably other talent to go there because they know you're screwing over someone who has given you a lot and you kind of haven't helped him really been a disaster around him. And then also just like again, you're kind of do you find the next guy? Because now you have a chance where you could probably trade into the top three, get your pick back from Miami or something, get us something from the Jets, and get a Zach Wilson, get a Justin Fields, and kind of just start from scratch.
yeah, and get some of that capital back that Bob got rid of.
Yeah, exactly.
Tunsil and Stills.
Yeah, even if you go to 12 with San
Different.
Fran, you could trade up. You kind of package that with other picks because you're gonna get a lot of picks for Deshaun. So you could either again stick around 12 hoping QB falls and build up your roster, or use that to get up into the top three. It's just the possibilities are endless. Not that trading Deshaun Watson is ever a good idea, but it just seems like you're not going to win on that front.
Yeah, because then he can even do like a worse thing, like just show up the last week of the preseason, and then you got to pay him. Then he's out of shape. You can do like the James Harden, like
Yeah, and not even
like pull a hammy and like milk that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like something that like a pulled muscle or like a strain where you can't really prove it on an MRI or something, but who's going to question you saying like, oh, this hurts, like I can't go, and then again either then you pay me, yeah, then you're getting paid while also not, or you're paying him while also not getting anything on the field. So I don't know. I get it. I get not wanting to move on from him, but I just don't see a scenario where this plays out. I'm very interested to see who blinks first because I kind of believe Deshaun when he says he's not going to play for them.
Yeah, well, they're not even taking the calls. Teams are leaving voicemails.
It's absolute insanity. So again, we kind of bring this up probably every couple episodes here, but it's such a huge domino that falls because that's going to kind of set the tone. There's probably a lot of teams that are waiting to see what happens there before making their plan B or deciding what they're going to do at the draft, or again, just figuring out something else. Because I think once Watson goes, then I think that's where you kind of see the secondary market for potentially a Jimmy G trade or teams that maybe want to trade up in the draft and do something else. But the other QB it doesn't seem as pressing, something that could potentially happen, and it's just a really kind of a weird situation, is Russell Wilson. So came out and said he hasn't demanded a trade, but if I do, here are the 4 teams I want to go to, and that's Dallas, New Orleans, Las Vegas, and Chicago.
Big win for the Bears.
Huge one for the Bears. Our guy Big Cat was joking that he already might be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in Bears history, never playing a snap for them. Just picking them on a list.
Just because he might want to go there.
The Bears have had a putrid list of quarterbacks. I know they won with Jim McMahon. Jay Cutler's been the best of in recent times. Rick Grossman took him to the Super Bowl. But I think if Russell Wilson played one game for them, he'd already be number 1. Like that's the only reason he's at like number 4 right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
but the Bears.
Luckman or something. Like
yeah. So exactly. Yeah, Luckman. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very interesting list. I don't know how much this self/Sierra marketing versus an actual spot where you want to play and win. New Orleans seems like the best from like a football standpoint. Dallas is probably the best mix of both. Vegas is probably the best marketing wise, like the biggest spotlight, I guess. And then Chicago's kind of a pretty big city, pretty good team, kind of also like a mix of a lot of things. But yeah, very interesting list. I do expect him to be in Seattle this year, but kind of interesting, those 4 teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as the team kind of caters all its needs, and I think that'll be fine. But very interesting.
Yeah. So again, that's another thing we'll keep our eye on. If I were to bet, I'd say he's the Seahawks starting quarterback to start the year. But we'll have to keep an eye on that one. I did want to briefly talk about Mel Kiper's mock draft. Again, that's kind of behind a paywall, but I see some of the bottom line. I listen to his podcast as well. And the one thing that I have to come out and hugely disagree with is, well, one, some people might say the thought that the Patriots will trade up for a quarterback at all is their problem with it. That's not mine. My big problem is if Seattle's going to trade up, or not Seattle, sorry, San Francisco is going to trade up and draft a quarterback, then the Patriots definitely aren't. He has both of those happening. If San Fran's going up to get either Justin Fields or Trey Lance or Mac Jones, whoever it might be, then we're going to be in the market for Jimmy G. We're not going up and getting one of those other guys.
Yeah.
So, because that's what he had. I think he had them going up and getting Fields at 7, I think. And then I think he had Mac Jones actually going 8 ahead of Trey Lance. That's another issue with it. And then he had the Patriots trading up and getting with Denver to get in the 9th spot and take Trey Lance. So I just don't see it shaking up that way at all.
Yeah, and even just like one guy I've seen all over is Kyle Pitts.
4. He had him going 4.
Yeah, he had him at 4, and I was reading one of Bleacher Report the other day and had us getting him at 15. Like, I don't think either of them happen. I think he's going to end up going at like 8 or 9.
I saw something weird on Twitter that
10.
Someone has Fields dropping to like 24 at the Steelers.
Yeah,
I don't think that's happening. I don't think you're paying attention.
I think at this point, I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen in this draft.
No, I really don't care what number is. I think the Panthers are going to be really aggressive at QB, whether it's trying to make a move for Watson or just getting one of these guys, either at 8 or by trading up. So really the thing that jumped out to me is like, I don't completely put it past I don't think the Patriots will trade up and get a quarterback. I could be wrong, but I especially put it past them if the Niners are obtaining a quarterback, because the whole thing is that they want to get Garoppolo if he's available. And the only way he's available is if San Fran takes a quarterback, or acquires Watson somehow. So I don't see it playing out that way specifically. Not to pick too much on Mel. He did say it was the first time in like 40-year history of doing this that he did a mock with trades.
Pretty well.
So that's interesting. So yeah, I just wanted to briefly hit on that. I know there's going to be kind of different versions of a lot of different people's mocks that come out, but wanted to note that because again, I don't think the Patriots make a trade unless, or especially if San Fran makes one as well. Another brief football point I wanted to hit on. I know we were talking about this. ESPN came out with a top 15 quarterbacks of college football of the 2000s, and they kind of some of it was behind a paywall as well. I think we might have had it up for 15 to, and then the top 5 gets a little murky. We think we know the order there, but yeah, I don't know if you.
I can run through the top 15 at least. How
about 6 to 15?
Yes. So
let me do that first.
Going down, they're gonna do Sam Bradford, Kellen Moore, Johnny Football, Colt McCoy, Trevor Lawrence. And then the top 10 is RG3, Mariota, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are obviously all big names. I might even put Lawrence a little higher up than maybe, like, I don't know, but it's tough because there were a lot of like dynamic players this time. I think Deshaun at 6 is perfect. I think that's exactly where he belongs because he was so good. But I don't know if he quite touches the guys in the top 5. Actually, I don't know. Let's get into it a little bit. But I think as far as 6 through 15, Deshaun's clearly the number one of that group.
You know who I think is too low? Kellen Moore.
Who's that?
Kellen Moore.
But the only thing I have to say back to that is you have to talk about the level of competition, I think.
Sure.
That's the only thing I'd say there. Yeah, I think I'd
put Murray a little lower too. Not 7.
Yeah, I'd put Lamar probably ahead of him. Mariota, but they both have better
careers. I guess if
it's tough because
if the top 10's locked, I'd probably put him at 10 and then maybe just shift everyone down 1.
Yeah, because I think it's tough because you have to kind of compare because some of these guys had one amazing season versus like 2 or 3 pretty good years here. But let's get into the top 5. I think we said we found the order here.
I'm in the Instagram comments. So
yeah, exactly. We know who the top 2 were, and then I think we're piecing together 5 through 1. And I think you said was
5.
Joe Burrow number 5.
Joe Burrow is number 5. Number 4 was Tim Tebow. Number 3 was Vince Young. Number 2 was Cam Newton, and number 1 was Baker Mayfield.
And I think that's where we have to get into this. And I think we're both huge Baker guys. That's way too high.
Way too high.
Way too high. I know he had a good career here, but again, you're talking about guys who won championships, put teams on their back. And I know it shouldn't mean everything, but I question whether he's even better than Deshaun, if we're going to be honest, having in their college career. I think that's the debate is like 5. So let me just say this. If I had to reorder just this top 5 and put Baker at 5.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of including a top 6 in my head. I think there's like 2 clusters of 3 where I think it's Vince Young, Cam Newton, and Tim Tebow, or like a group of 3. And then where Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, and Joe Burrow are like another group of 3. And kind of like which way you rank it across, like as long as they're 1 through 3 and they're 4 through 6, I'm not going to argue anyway, but I think that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it.
Okay, I don't hate that either. I think I agree with that as well. Um, I'd probably even kind of I think put Burrow more firmly at number 4 just because of the how good of a year that was,
Yeah.
and obviously won the championship. But I don't know, it's just so tough because like I keep like thinking Deshaun's good where he is, but then I keep remembering how awesome he was. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. But again, all right, fine. Let's take it one step further then, Mike. Again, we're, just for the sake of debate here, give me your 1, 2, 3.
Um, I would probably do Vince Young number 3,
Mm-hmm.
and number 1. I'm just going to jump to number 1.
I'm good. Yeah,
Tebow.
I don't hate it. I'm gonna be very biased here I think in my order. I think I'm gonna go number 1, Vince. Actually, I just think because he had multiple good years and it culminated with the championship. Just seeing what he did in that game against USC was an absolute wagon. He might have faced the toughest team that anyone did. Because I mean, you're talking about Tebow's championship was in Oklahoma, led by Sam Bradford, pretty good team. But USC was coming off of, and I know the BCS was weird at that time. Like, did they win the one 2 years ago? To kind of start they had the back to back. I don't know. The first one was kind of up for debate. The second one was not up for debate. They absolutely killed Oklahoma. And then you return Matt Leinart, you return Reggie Bush, you return Lendell White, all these other guys, and Vince just fought them tooth and nail. So I have him at number 1. I'd say Tim Tebow, even though I think I liked Cam a little bit better in college. But again, I think that's a point where you're kind of getting really granular. You have to consider the multiple years versus 1 year thing. So I'd go Vince Tebow and then Cam Newton. So I think we kind of just completely flipped ours.
Yeah, if you think about college football in the last 20 years, I think the first person I think of is Tim Tebow.
No, I don't hate it. Like I said, I definitely don't at all. I'm just saying, like, if I had to go back and like start a program in that time, I'd probably go with Vince. But
Program.
no, I totally understand that order. Again, I don't think you can really get too mad at anyone there. So yeah, Tebow number 1. I think that might even be the right call. But on my list, I'm going with Vince. But yeah, I think we all agree Baker was a little too high. Again, and we're huge Baker guys. I got the Baker Christmas sweater. I'm huge on him. I love his MO and everything. I just think that was just like a little too high. Because again, he never kind of all 3 guys we just listed and Joe Burrow all have championships.
He didn't win a playoff
He didn't
game.
win the big one.
He
No, he didn't win a playoff game. No.
And they were up in it. They had an Atlanta style collapse in that game to the University
of Georgia.
They had an Atlanta collapse to an Atlanta team.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I thought that'd be a fun little exercise. Is that list kind of came out this week? Just go through our top order there. Few notes late. We'll briefly discuss some NHL. Been a rough week for the Bruins. Like you said, I think you read here they hate New York because they've kind of gotten steamrolled these last couple of games following Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, they're thankfully done on the island. They went 0-3, 0 points. I think the rest of the schedule against the Islanders are all at the Garden, and they have a two-game weekend series that played last night. I believe they play again tomorrow with a noon puck drop against the Rangers, and they lost 7-2 on Thursday night, like an absolute collapse. It was 2-2, and Frederick literally just messed around with the puck in front of the net, got it like he was just skating in front of the net with the puck, and the guy in the Islanders literally just took it off his stick and was directly in front of the net in front of Halak and just buried it. And then the floodgates opened. It was a 5-0 period for the Islanders. Brutal. And like I said, the limited sports I watched last night was Salt Lake, so I didn't really pay too much attention to this. But
Yeah.
And a 6-2 loss to the Rangers.
Some of their stink seems to be rubbing off on the maybe sharing the buildings kind of it's rubbing off on the Bruins.
Yeah, so I think I've read that this isn't the worst thing because we're flying pretty high for Tahoe, but
yeah,
this team does have a couple holes, especially.
Absolutely.
Our secondary scoring isn't the best. Coyle's picked it up the past couple of games, thankfully, and we do have a lot of young defense, and we've had some injuries. I believe Zaboral's out, and Zabora might have just come back, but Lazan is out for a couple months. I mean, a couple weeks. I think they're going to add up to a month. So letting our young D kind of go through some growing pains right now. So maybe this means that we might get motivated to pick something up at the deadline. So this could be a blessing in disguise, dropping a couple games. So
yeah, because that'll happen to some teams sometimes. I think the roster clearly has holes in it, but you just for some reason go on this hot streak, and then you're like, oh, we don't want to mess with the chemistry, and then it all kind of regresses to the mean a little bit, where you kind of are who you are, you kind of are who your roster is, and then you might overlook these things, but like if they kind of come in a little bit, you can see what these weaknesses are, and then you can kind of address those needs and really like bulk up for the long haul. So yeah, obviously not great last couple games, but like you said, overall it's been a successful year for the Bruins so far. So I have to hope these are just a couple blips on the radar and they're able to get back into form. And then other note, Bruins related, is that the Canadiens moved on from Claude Julien. They fired him this week. So again, the coach of the 2011, 10 years ago now, which is crazy to think about, Stanley Cup champion Bruins, out of a job again as he is ousted in Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal is probably one of the best teams to start. Everyone was saying the way
They
they're
got a quick trigger up there historically.
Yeah, but I think the first like 10, 15 games, they're averaging like 4.5 goals
Yeah.
a game, which is pretty impressive for a Claude Julien coach team. But then they've kind of fallen back to earth, and they lost a couple of games back to back with Ottawa and seemed to be getting bad pretty fast. And I think he was kind of on the hot seat to start the year.
Mm-hmm.
So sad to see him go. There's a intern coaching right now, but knowing hockey, it'll be probably another retread. I feel like the same like 35 coaches rotate.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this guy's back again. Same thing with goalies too. I'm always just, I guess like the same guys floating around. But no, I definitely agree on head coaches. I've always thought that.
Yeah,
And I'm sure Claude will end up somewhere soon too. Maybe not this year, but next year.
End up with like the Sabres or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something weird.
Yeah, it's even like goalies. Like I was just looking at like Matt Murray, like the one that won a couple of cups with Pittsburgh, and I was just like being terrible in Ottawa. It's like, what's going on here? Like,
yeah, it's very very strange. That one's probably a little deeper. It's probably like 40, 45 guys, but it's just the like a few new ones sneak in every year, but you see a lot of, like you said, a lot of retreads. But yeah, the NHL, I've noticed that over the years, they seem to have the weirdest hooks as far as head coaches goes. Like the most like, oh, this team was in first place and they fired their coach. I remember seeing that years ago for teams.
How about the Caps? They won a cup and then just didn't re-sign their coach.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a little different because you could view that as, I don't know, because some teams do that with players. It's like, well, yeah, it's like, well, you're just, I don't know. That is a little strange. I will give you that. It's just a little different than like, oh, you're coasting along here, but it's just like, no, we're making a change. That could be like, well, the roster's gonna be different next year, blah blah blah. I don't know, but yeah, also a weird one with Boudreaux. But yeah, just want to click on a few notes there, NHL wise. Again, we'll kind of keep an eye on what the Bruins do, and hopefully they can get back into shape here, and we'll have a good push to the playoffs here for them and the rest of the NHL as we get deeper into the year. And then just a couple of miscellaneous items I want to note. First off, I recently this is a classic that I recently watched for the first time coming to America, so I have to appreciate Frankie Lindor's outfit showing up the spring training this week with the reflecting Eddie Murphy in that movie. So that's pretty awesome. I wanted to make that note. Tatis is the new young guy, but I think overall Lindor is my favorite player in the league. So I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, he's awesome. That's a movie I gotta see too, especially with the remake coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's we were kind of hanging out one night. We're like, oh yeah, the remake's coming. We should watch the original. It was really good. It was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was awesome. Love seeing that out of Lindor. And then kind of to wrap up here, I might even play the video. We have the anniversary, 9-year anniversary, I believe it is, of one of the most iconic moments in sports.
Making first podcast milestone. We're finally hitting a new league.
Yes, a league we have not discussed before. It might not be what you're thinking of. If those of you, the real ones know what this anniversary was yesterday. And I'm going to play it right now once I get my volume set on my phone. It's probably not going to sound great because it's through my phone, through a microphone, but here we go. Apologies. Of course, it's going to go off without a hitch. Pause.
Strike to claim it. A strike to claim it. And he got it! Are you kidding me? That's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
One of the greatest lines ever.
Bowling Association.
Who do you think you are? I am.
A
quote that makes no sense. Makes no sense, but will forever live on in bowling lore, in pop culture lore, in sports lore. Just what a moment. These guys, you have to just imagine, oh my god, bowlers. It's definitely a unique group of individuals, but I love it.
Who do you think
Oh,
you
man.
are? I am.
And I think we just have to end it on that. Who do you think you are? I am. Great. Again, like I said, slate of college basketball that started the day. We have a great game later with Baylor, Kansas. See if the Celtics can start to right the ship. See if anything major breaks in NFL. Just a lot upcoming here. We're excited for what March has in store. As like you said, that's on Monday. So again, we'll be back in action somewhere middle of next week with our next episode. Kind of break down what played out the rest of the weekend and early on next week. But yeah, I think that's all we had today. Anything else, Mike?
One last time. Who do you think you are? I am.
And we'll leave it with that. Thanks, everyone.